Tracker Finance. I don't know what I'm doing right now. Where are we? There we go. Okay, welcome back, kings and queens, to another market open. You're with Knuckle Dragger Finance. The market has just opened. If you're watching the replay, thank you for joining me. We got a good amount to go over today. We're going to start with just looking at the charts where we are now. Let me make my box a little bit smaller so you can see what's going on behind me. Okay, there we go. So UEC, we'll be getting into a little bit of the news there. It did drop down under the $4 mark. Starbucks is now under the $89 mark. So we got things going a little wish-washy. Let's open up UEC first after we see what our account is at currently. We're at 182.79 currently, so we did lose a few dollars there, which I'm not really surprised at all. So when we open up UEC, we can see we did break under our 394 support, and that crossed in the after hours market, looks like. Yeah, so it was bouncing around that right before the market closed yesterday. But we have some good volume. It looks like it wants to turn back up and go over the 940 or 394 range, which is good for us. That's showing us that it's respecting those lines pretty well. We are within the first couple of minutes, so this is pretty much the most active throughout the day. Now, if I were going to trade this, I would have done it about yesterday or the day before when I was saying I might, around the $4.15 range or so. But right now it's right under one of our supports. It looks like it might be going down towards another. The cross did happen. You know what? So our next line is at 375. I'm actually going to put an order in for 2 to sell to. Even though it's lower than I would have liked to originally, I would rather catch it before it goes any further if I see it going the way it might. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stop limit at, we'll say 370. I'll say 374. Because if it goes down under 374, then it's probably, or it could break down a little bit more. So we'll go with that. All right, there we go. So we got our stop limit set in. It's at 374. So if it goes under that line, it's gonna sell those, those shares. We'll keep an eye on that though, because if it does sell and then turns back over and goes for the positive, we'll want our eyes to be on that to see what's going on. Let's look at Starbucks. Starbucks broke down a little bit also. Let's zoom out just a bit, see what's going on in the 5-minute. All right, yep, so that's crossed. Let's zoom out a little bit more on the hour. All right, so everything's crossed to go back downwards with Starbucks. If that goes under the $87, $86 range, I'm gonna pick up another share. I do feel like I let that other one go a little bit too soon, but at the same time, I'm glad that I played with caution given the way the market's going right now. QQQ is breaking down a little bit. It was at 333 at the open. Or about 330 at the open, is at 329. Okay, so I should say it was about 333 at the close yesterday. We're at 329 right now. So this is a big indicator of what the market overall could be doing. I believe the QQQ follows S&P pretty closely, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look at Verizon real quick. We are in the positive by only a few pennies right now. It looks like they had a cross to the after hours also, going toward the downtrend. All right, let's look at the day. And it's now crossed up on the day. Still, we're seeing that it hasn't crossed down yet. Let's look at the 4-hour. Not too many people trade the 4-hour, so I don't use it too rigid. But the 1-hour, it did cross down. So this, I don't know. This is kind of telling me that I should probably be selling now. I'm going to keep my eyes on it. I'm going to put in a sell at 45.15. I know that sounds kind of close to what I sold it at, but I'd rather sell it with still some profit rather than with a loss. So I'm going to do another stop limit, just like I did with UEC. We'll go 45.20. We'll make 10 cents at least. And then the stop and the limit, there can be a little bit of a difference. I make them the same, especially when I'm not really too concerned if it's going to catch it or not. And we can go over those another time. All right, so I got my stop limit in at 45.20, which would give me 10 cent profit. Nothing to write home about. But if it does go down to that range, it'll at least get me out before more of a loss. Again, we'll keep our eyes on this to make sure that what we're doing feels right as the day goes further. Let's look at space. All right, Virgin Galactic. In normal fashion, it drops down pretty significantly. Again, let's see, any new news? Oh, okay. Oh, it's just saying it's reached its lowest levels. Okay, no real news. This is still playing off of all the old information that we've been playing off of. So let's just zoom out. Honestly, I'm at this point, I'm not selling unless I'm in profit. I could be playing this as it's going down, sell it in like, you know, the 7s and then buy it back in the 6s, but honestly, that's so much transacting for no real purpose besides maybe an initial claiming of a net loss. I'm not going to stress myself out over that right now. I do still believe it's going to get over that $8 range, get back into the $10 and more. So I'm just going to hold this as is, and we'll leave this account until we have some real funds to play with. But for now, we're at 182.11 in our TD, or in our Thinkorswim account. We have 106.01 on the sidelines, ready to buy some opportunity when we see them. Let's go into UEC real quick, see what's looking there. All right, so it's consolidating in between our lines right now. That's what we do like to see. Its cross might turn back up. All right, so this is actually looking pretty good. Oh, excuse me. Oh, hope you guys didn't hear that. Excuse me. Let's see what Tesla's at right now. Tesla's at 915. Oh, SDIG, by the way, I'm going to be talking about that as Stronghold. It's another crypto type or Bitcoin mining company, but I'll talk about that. Tesla's at 916 right now just to see what it's at before the split. All right, let's look at crypto. All right, we're going to go through the top like 20 or so. So Bitcoin, we're at 23,000. It did break down from 25, but we're still up 2% in the last couple of days. Ethereum at 1,800, still up from like last week when it was down 10%. Oh, excuse me. Or I should say when it was 10% lower than it is currently. But the fact that these are starting to turn down is kind of making me believe what I will talk about a little bit later. So they are weakening just a little bit, very minorly, but they are still weakening. And the overall crypto market cap is at $1 trillion, $1,179 billion. So that's also staying around the same frame, if not going down a little bit also. Just a little bit. BNB at 310, so same thing, showing a little bit of weakness, but still way above that $200 mark that it was a few weeks back, maybe a month ago. XRP still holding above Cardano, but only at 37 cents. So not much increase there as far as price-wise, but market cap, it is still holding strong over Cardano when it did flip last week. Cardano is at 54 cents, which I guess, you know, kind of where it's been. All right, it increased up 10 cents. I'm a little bitter with Cardano. I'm one of those Cardano fanboys who bought a bunch at the beginning, and now I'm just waiting for it to go back up. Thankfully, I think I'm still in profit. All right, Solana, $41. Dogecoin, 8 cents. That had a pretty significant jump. It's got a 20% jump in the last 7 days. Polkadot, just under the $9 range, so we did break down just a little bit. Shiba, over 50% increase in the last 7 days. I mean, I don't even know what's going on with SHIB. Why did it go up 50% besides sentiment? If you know, let me know. Put it in the comments below. Leto staked ETH, up 10%. So this should be pretty much where Ethereum is. Avalanche still holding around the $26 range, up 3%, down 3% in the last 7 days. So it's still floating around that mid-20s, high $20 range. Polygon's still right under the dollar range. This is a good area for Polygon Matic to be in. 3% up the last 7 days. DAI is another stable coin. Tron, I don't know too much about them. They've been around forever, but I don't trade them very often. Wrap Bitcoin, you know, if you don't know what wrap crypto is, it's basically something that is tracking that asset on a different chain from what it originally is supposed to be on, or originally made on. And there are other reasons too. That is not the sole purpose of what a wrapped coin is. There are many other reasons why something could be wrapped. OKB, $20.71. I don't know too much about these two tokens. Litecoin, out of the 20 or top 20 now, $61.20. FTX or FTT, $30.50. So they're still looking more supported than they did when everything did break down, but we're not seeing as much green as we were last week. So with that segue, let's go into some of our news that we got going on here. All right. By the way, I want to say nothing here is financial advice. This is all for entertainment and education purposes only. If you're going to make any decision or try to make any decision based on what you see here, please talk to a financial advisor. I'm not taking any responsibility for what y'all do. All right. So the first thing we're going to go over is UEC. So they're still working on their agreement with UEX Corporation. So what that means, I guess I should, okay, there we go. Now I'm more situated. All right, cool. So UEC is still working on amending their agreement with UEX so that they can fully take over the company. They're merging, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go over this pretty briefly. I was trying to get my highlighter key to work, but until I can get my highlighter key to work, I'm going to go through these news topics pretty briefly and just go over the important things that I see coming out. So effectively, they are going through. They're coming up with an agreement or amendment for what their agreement was. So if you have UEX, you'll effectively be getting 0.09 of a common share of UEC once all of this has gone through, which is effectively like 0.49 cents of UE. Or conversion would be like if you have UEX at 49 cents ish. So then it goes on talking more about the meeting and what they'll be accepting. The board of directors are pretty much trying to tell. UEX and UEC board of directors are both on board and trying to tell the UEX shareholders to help this go through. And also this is talking more about what it looks like in the nitty-gritty of everything. So I won't go through this very in detail, but I will say, so on the completion of this, UEX shareholders will hold approximately 14.3% of UEC common shares, the outstanding shares, I should say, UEC outstanding shares. So that'll give you kind of an idea. After all this is said and done, whoever owns UEX will now own about 14% of the overall outstanding shares of UEC market. So I like bringing this stuff up because I am in UEC. I like it. I like uranium. I think it's going to be big. It is big. I think it should be bigger than it already is. So anyway, on to some crypto stuff. So Bitcoin miner RIOT takes 349 million goodwill impairment charges on acquisitions. All right, so they took a little bit longer to put out their earnings than some of their other companies, their sister, whatever you want to call them, peer companies. There you go. So like Mara Digital or Marathon Digital, Mara is what the ticker is. They brought out their earnings already, 127.6 million impairment charges in the second quarter due to decline in prices of digital assets. So this is why RIOT was waiting a little bit. They wanted to make sure that all of their numbers were proper because of everything that has happened with crypto in the past couple or few months. So effectively what they're saying is even though that their crypto assets are down significantly from what they were before, their hash rate is still up and their overall mining more. So let me read this out so that what I just said makes sense and I'm not giving any misinformation. So RIOT maintained its hash rate growth guidance of about 12.5 exahash per second by the first quarter of next year, which is first forecast on August 3rd. RIOT also reported total first quarter revenue of $72.9 million, missing consensus estimate of $75.5 million, according to FactSet data. It currently has 44,720 Bitcoin miners with a hash rate of 4.4 exahash per second. Riot shares fell 6% on Tuesday. Its stock fell 6% in the last year. Okay, where is it? The miner is scheduled to report its earnings last week. However, delayed quarterly earnings needed more calculation because of the war. Here we are. Okay, so this is a statement from CEO Jason Less. Although challenging global market conditions in the second quarter further impacted a steep decline in the price of Bitcoin and resulting decline in the market valuations for publicly traded Bitcoin miners, including Riot, necessitated non-cash impairment charges this quarter. These non-cash charges had no impact on our solid financial positions and ample liquidity, both of which were further strengthened this quarter. So that's very important. So even though Riot has had these noted losses, they're still saying that their liquidity is very strong and their financial position is very strong. So that's a good thing to note when it comes to purchasing anything right now, to be honest. So moving on, going to Celsius. So Celsius says that they have multiple offers. So right now, this doesn't mean much more than whoever does buy out Celsius, if there is a default, they could be getting their assets that they still do currently have. And it could be good for whoever was using Celsius also. There's not much that has actually said that things are going to be happening with regard to this article, besides the fact that they're saying Celsius does have some offers to give some reprieve in what did happen. So this is what I was saying about Stronghold, the company that we briefly just put into our watches or whatever. So they had to sell some of their mining machinery. To just briefly say what this article was saying is that they returned some 26,200 mining machines in exchange for a cancellation of $67.4 million in debt. So that's pretty significant. So they sold some of their miners, they sold some of the Bitcoin that they had mined to get rid of $79 million of Stronghold's debt. So that's 55% of the company's current debt, which is still $64 million. So they still have a whole lot of debt, but they were able to subside some of it. Scrolling down, you'll be able to see, I'll move me a little bit so you can see it a little better. So you'll be able to see that here is how much the miners have been selling over the last months. So in June, they sold 400, and this is just overall miners. This isn't Stronghold specifically. So they sold near 400%, just miners in general, of Bitcoin in June of 2020, which was about 15,000 Bitcoin. Whereas last month there was about 158%, I believe. Yep, 158% of Bitcoin were sold by miners, which is approximately 6,000 Bitcoin. So the amount of Bitcoin that miners are selling right now is going down. June had a whole lot of selling pressure because of the crash in May, but whenever you see miners not selling as much, it does show that they're able to maintain their finances a little bit better across the board. So even though Riot was saying that their finances are still good, apparently Strongholds isn't. So this chart right here is kind of a little indication of what overall miners are doing. Could be an indication of what overall miners are doing. The UK is going into some guidelines on what stablecoin regulations are going to be. This is bigly in part because of what happened with Terra losing a collapse of a $40 billion enterprise. So it's in big part because of that. But what they're saying here is basically with everybody who's changing in office or in the cabinet over in the UK because of Brexit, they just want to make sure that everything that is happening going forward with crypto is going to be very financially conducive to everybody. Now we'll see what this actually means when it comes to the actual regulations and legislation that does come forth. But since Brexit, they've been in an interesting spot because UK has been managing kind of their own central bank, I guess you could say. I'll get better terminology once I refresh all of my memory on what stuff is going on or has gone on. But effectively, they're trying to make sure that regulations for stablecoins are in place, and this is just good for everyone as far as all countries, because this will also allow kind of benchmarks for people who don't have regulations. They'll be able to see what's going on also. So we'll see what happens. There's more discussion going on, and we'll keep on top of it as best as we can. There's not too much to say here. This is basically just talking about the Ethereum merge, and they think that that might have it beat out Bitcoin's market cap in the next 12 months. We'll see if that happens. This isn't going to necessarily make Ethereum cheaper per se. This is just going to be good for the environment, or that's what the move is more or less for. So let me see if I can catch that real quick. All right, sell pressure, inflation rate, sells. There it is. Okay, the main purpose of the reduction in energy consumption is 99.9%, and to allow more users to contribute to block protection. So that's really what they're saying the point of the merge is, or what the byproduct of the merge is going to be, and that's what the benefits are. So, real quick, I do want to say, if that's, excuse me, if any of this has been helpful so far, let me know, and also let me know in the comments below or in the chat what you want to be learning more about. The whole point of this channel is to basically be showing what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, but I'm basically just showing the information that I'm finding and then saying, hey, do that with what you will, and then you'll be able to see me make my moves in the process. I go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m., and I also do have some other videos and shorts that I drop weekly, more than weekly, of definitions for personal finance, beginners to personal finance and investing. So this right here, I don't think much of it is going to come from it, from what this article was saying, but basically because of what has happened with Tornado Cash and the OFAC saying that they're going to be attacking people who are just, like, even recipients of Tornado Cash or of that, that asset or any transaction within that platform. Basically what they're saying is that that's an impingement of the, human rights, basically. The First Amendment, freedom of speech. There it is, freedom of speech. The constitutional right to due process and free speech, because basically if you're not really trying to transact with Tornado Cash, but you had an address on it or something, and someone just sends you something through Tornado Cash, they're saying that you're going to be liable for that transaction. At least that's what the OFAC is trying to say. So this lawsuit put forward by Coincenter might not actually do anything. It might not go anywhere because, we already know, even this down here says, like, see Ripple. Yeah, see SEC versus Ripple to really see what would happen if we try to put forth a lawsuit. It would be more of a money suck than anything else is what they're saying. So this may not have anything, or may not come to anything, but anything like this that does happen in the market at least does tell people, hey, this is what we want to see, or at least this is what we want to happen and what is happening. So this is more of an indication of, I guess, awareness than anything else. But let's look back at the charts, see where our things are moving and grooving. All right, so looks like we're still holding over our supports where we had our lines put in. Let's go back in a minute here. Yeah, so we're still, okay, so we're holding over those lines, which is good. We did hit a cross going up on the MACD and Verizon, so that's good. Let's check UEC real quick. Oh, by the way, I'll put a card right here of my shorts that I've been putting out. That way you guys can catch up on some of them videos. All right, we got the cross here. Okay, so this is good. It's a little wish-washy with UEC. We'll still keep an eye on that. I'll keep an eye on that throughout the day, but at least with what I'm seeing right now, there could be some safety within the market as far as we're not going to be tanking through those lines that we have drawn. Let's look at space. All right. By the way, this is Webull that I'm using here. If you like this, there is a link in the description below. Thinkorswim is what I use on the other for the other platform. All right, looking pretty good there. Okay. All right. So I think overall right now, it seems like every other day I'm saying something different as far as what I believe the market is doing or what I think I'm going to be doing in the market. So I'll just say what I'm doing right now. Right now I'm keeping my eyes on the chart. I'm setting my stop limits wherever I feel I need to. And when I do have those, I'm especially keeping a track on them because I don't want them to be executed and then the stock to skyrocket right back up. So my charts stay open up on my computer. I'm still working on growing a couple of businesses outside of this, and as I do, the money will be funded into more of my investments. And as I do that, the other thing that I'm doing is just I'm working on my emergency, not necessarily emergency fund, but I'm working on my opportunity bucket more than anything else. And what that means is I'm trying to get as much cash or as much opportunity money on the side as possible for if things do go down again. With the way I'm seeing things right now, I do kind of think that things are going to be tanking again, potentially. But if all of that was helpful to you, join me on the next live, which will be this Friday at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. If you have any other friends that you think could benefit from this, share this with them. And I appreciate you all big time. Have a good one.